chain can be managed to ensure safety and food wholesomeness.
Since 1946, Congress has determined that there ought to be a national school lunch program. And so in order to ensure that needy kids are fed throughout the school year, we go in and we work with school districts and we work with the Food and Nutrition Service in order to determine what kind of foods that they might need for their diet, for their desire in the school lunch program. And so we work year-round ensuring that they are able to obtain their requests, whether it be chicken nuggets, whether it be fajita strips, whether it be ground beef hamburgers, whether it be canned applesauce. We purchase about $700 million worth of food for the National School Lunch Program every year.
We buy the best quality ground beef for school kids. Quality and value go hand in hand. And the quality has to meet the needs of our customer. And our customers, we feel, are the school kids.
We visit Cherry Meats in Chicago to discover how food safety and food wholesomeness are ensured through every step of the food chain. Cherry Meats is a major supplier to the school lunch program.
The company actually was started by my grandfather. It was during the Depression. He had a horse and buggy, and he sold meats off the horse and buggy to people on the street.
Our products generally are for school systems and for food service use. We make hamburger patties, we make sausage items, and we also make products that go for retail use.
We demand that we bring in the best product we can get, and we've got a great partnership with a couple beef suppliers, and we do stay strictly within those companies. In other words, we don't go on the outside and try to get the cheapest product we can. We customize our suppliers into training them what we need. They make it for us the way we need it, and then we just maintain that quality throughout the process.
The quality and safety of the meat here does not rely solely on inspection. Dr. John Surak, food safety consultant at Surak Associates in Clemson, South Carolina, says that food safety cannot be inspected into a product. And end product testing is costly, time-consuming, and not reliable.
All of the inspection of final product usually brings a false sense of security. We don't normally test enough product to be able to make a decision on what is happening with a specific lot.
Our inspection systems, which were very good and have always been very good, always focus on product inspection, product control. So the biggest change, and that was important to the ground beef program, is that we learned to get complying product, it had to come from a process that complied. In other words, you cannot inspect product to comply. It has to be produced to comply. So that's where we're changed now to go to more of a process control.
They use supply chain management.
Supply chains, of course, are the whole linkage from the beginning of your raw material production through the process to the final delivery to the end customer. The idea of a supply chain management system is you're managing not only the logistics, the flow of the material throughout the system, but also is the material as it moves from one point to the other the right material in the right condition so the next part of the process can properly handle it. Supply chain quality management is a very important contributor to providing safe food. If you have your process well known, identified, and under control, you create a situation where you're very, very unlikely to create a contaminated product.
Sealed tubs of boneless beef arrive at the Cherry Meats loading dock in refrigerated trucks. The meat comes from a packing house that has been chosen carefully to meet Cherry Meats requirements. In fact, they have built a vendor-customer relationship together to be sure that all meat entering the processing system is always at the standards that Cherry wants for its school lunch customer.
It is important that the boneless beef coming into the operation be of acceptable quality, and that as it goes through their operation, they know what is happening as far as cleanliness and pathogen levels, and that they are not introducing any problems, and that the final product, as it goes into the patty or to the coarse ground beef package, is of a good quality. Low pathogens, the right level of fats, etc.
The boneless beef is lifted into a grinder. One beef product is coarse ground, which will be turned into 1-pound and 10-pound chubs, ground beef that can be used for any number of food dishes, such as lasagna, meatballs, chili, and meat sauces. More finely ground beef will be made into hamburgers.
The main thing that we want to monitor and maintain is temperature, not only of the product, but the coolers that it's stored in, and the time that it's stored in that cooler. If we can keep anything 40 degrees or less, we're going to minimize any kind of bacterial growth.
We have a lot of long-time employees. When we do hire, we do put them through food safety handling instruction. They're for the first week, they are watched very closely to make sure they do follow all the rules and regulations that we've set, in addition to meat inspection and AMS. Hair nets, beard nets, gloves, sanitary gloves, removing of all garments once they leave a production area, washing their hands when they re-enter, putting new gloves on once they enter. All this is very, very important. What we try to do is eliminate as much of the handling of the product as we can. Over the years, we've mechanized to such an extent where our patty operation, for example, once the patties are formed, they are never touched. They go through the freezing process, the packaging process, the bagging process, the boxing process without ever being touched by human hands.
Nobody touching meat with a bare hand. You notice these things. You would notice how the people would walk around the plant and that, and being very careful and meticulous, even from the extent trying not to breathe on meat.
We identify what are the potential hazards in a food product. Then we design control procedures to control those hazards, either by preventing their incorporation into the food product or by eliminating through processing steps. And we implement those control procedures, and we verify that the system is working day in and day out.
Both the USDA and the FDA use HACCP standards for food. That means Hazard Analysis and Critical Control Point. This has been strengthened with the ISO 22000 Food Safety Management System.
Those of us who worked on ISO 22000, we made a commitment to revise that standard every 5 years. And the object is to bring all these new technologies and describe into a standard so it can be used by food processors like Cherry Meats to improve food safety.
We do what's known as an on-site capability assessment, where an auditor will actually come out and essentially it's the old saying, do what you say and say what you do. And if you wrote down saying you're going to do everything, we merely check out to make sure you actually do it.
Throughout, the temperature is steadily lowered, starting at about 40 degrees refrigeration temperature to 28 degrees, just below freezing. The chilling helps to form better hamburgers and reduces microbial growth. The patties are machine formed while the temperature keeps dropping to around 0 degrees. Once the patties are formed, they are conveyed through liquid nitrogen that's a frigid 200 degrees below zero.
Our patty line actually goes through a freeze tunnel, we call it. It's on a conveyor system, and it's in that tunnel for approximately 7 minutes. And all it is a conveyor belt that goes around and around and around and up. And the patties go in at the lower level as it's going up. The 7 minutes, it finally comes out the top, frozen at 0 degrees. And liquid nitrogen is showering over all of these patties as they're going. And fans are blowing on the inside to create a wind chill factor. When they come out the other end, they are 0 degrees, and they go through the bagging process and then go directly into our freezer, which runs at 20 below.
The goal through this entire process, from the moment the meat has been ground, is to lower the temperature to 0 degrees Fahrenheit or lower, and to keep it that low until it hits the grill in the kitchen of your local school cafeteria. Also, at various steps through the process, samples are taken into the lab to be tested for fat content and other factors, so that adjustments to the process can be made right away. This data is entered on control charts, so the manufacturer and the USDA can quickly spot variances from ideal standards and quickly make corrections if necessary.
The main tools that we use now are SPC tools, statistical process controls. And what we do is we try to take all that data that we collect throughout the day, whether it's for metal detection, portion size, microbial counts, and what we do is try to take all that data and put it into some type of statistical data base, which now we use Northwest Analytical to chart things, and we can, by looking at those charts, we can see how things are trending, how if something is starting to get out of control, we can take steps to prevent it from really getting out of control.
Now, if we look at the control chart, and what we see on this control chart is on the far left side, we see a bunch of stars. Those are signals. That means the process is not stable. And the company, the manufacturer, must look for those causes, those problems, and then eliminate those causes.
A histogram accompanies each lot of meat so anyone can look at a record of the meat as it moves through the supply chain.
We measure the critical parameters that are needed. From a quality standpoint, that is the percent fat. We have to hit a target. We also do measurements on food safety issues. So we measure microbiological measures, such as E. coli. They are indicators of the potential of having pathogens. We also do pathogen testing.
We're responsible for everything. No longer can we say, well, we're doing it this way because you told us to do it this way. Our product isn't accepted because your inspector said it's accepted, or your grader put a stamp on that box and said accepted as specified. None of that happens anymore. Our logo goes on that box, our establishment number goes on that box, and once that's on there, we are responsible for it all the way through.
One of the very important, I think, results that come out of this ag marketing service example with the National School Lunch Program is it so clearly demonstrates that taking a process management approach, using SPC to analyze what's happening every way, the good record keeping, the good logistics, transport, that you can produce a food supply chain that you have in tremendous faith in is producing very safe product and product that is very wholesome, meets the nutritional requirements of the end customer. I mean, this is the way to get this job done.